Hi guys, Mark from Mind Frontiers. Second geeky video of the day. We're going to talk about perceptions and beliefs, aka Harry Potter. So, because this is another one that I've been asked to do. So, when we think about Harry Potter believed he was a nobody. He had a perception that he was a nobody, and it turned out he was very, very important. So, what our beliefs and our perceptions are not always true. So let's explore this a little further. We know he was kept in a cupboard, and he was downtrodden by his uncle and his aunt and his cousin, and they, as a child, enforced a belief system and a perception system that he's not good enough, because they always were down on him all the time. And then when he got to Hogwarts, he was like, oh my god, how does everybody know me? He didn't understand. He had no perception because he had no self-esteem, because he was always put down. So he started to overcome this. But our perceptions and our beliefs, they stay with us until we look at them in a different way. And that sometimes our perceptions and our beliefs are good, and sometimes they're not so good. But we all have choices coming from those perceptions and beliefs. We live our lives based on those beliefs that we've been installed as a child. Now, he became quite rebellious, but he said it was just because trouble kept finding him. But let's go deeper. We have to start looking at the perceptions and beliefs that he has. And this comes from the judgements. Now, there is a quote that J.K. Rowling likes. Reality is but an illusion. Everything we experience in the world is a reflection of our mind. So our perception is coloured by our internal makeup, which is why different people see the same things differently. So we can have the same experiences, but we'll believe and perceive it differently, which is why I brought it up, because it's vital that we have to learn to accept others for their own experiences and their own judgments. We cannot make judgments of other people. We have to learn to be acceptant, just like Harry was acceptant of others, such as Luna. People don't go near Luna, but he welcomed her with open arms. He looked at it from another point of view. He looked at it from another angle. And everything that we see, touch, taste, hear and smell, it feeds into our brain. But it's perceived by our brain. And our values and beliefs are what do the perception. They are what change our thoughts. So we could see it, but we could perceive it differently. So as Dumbledore says, of course it's happening inside your head, Harry, but why on earth does that not mean it's real? So our feelings and our emotions that we experience, based on our beliefs, are all inside our head. But it doesn't make it less real. We live our life by our beliefs. Harry led his life up until he went to Hogwarts, thinking that he was no good, and he lived his life by that. And then he was the chosen one, so he had to expel those previous beliefs and install new ones. And that wasn't easy for him. And sometimes that can lead us to have different emotional responses. So we could turn around and say, just because you have an emotional range of a teaspoon doesn't mean we all have. We all experience things differently, all at this different times, so we need to remove judgment. But all our judgments are based on beliefs of what is right and what is wrong. So let's move away from what is right and wrong. Let's move away to what is effective and what's not effective. What about when Dumbledore says people find it easier to forgive others for being wrong than being right? He's got a point when he says this in The Half-Blood Prince. But that's still, we've got to look at ourselves. Sometimes we have to forgive ourselves. and so that we can move forward. Our beliefs can hold us back. They can be self-limiting. So we've just got to look at our beliefs and our perceptions. Beliefs and perceptions are key to our own well-being and that of other people. So when we interact with other people, what messages are we sending out to them? What are we doing? Are we being a bit like Draco Malfoy and being quite aggressive and I know what's right? You'll soon find out some families are better Potter. He was making judgments. We need to remove away from judgments, and we need to look at our own beliefs and see if they're effective or ineffective. And as Dumbledore says to Harry, it's our choices, Harry, that show what we truly are, far more than our abilities. So when he was wearing the hat, the Sorting Hat was wanting to put him in Slytherin, and he heard a tale. He made a judgment about all Slytherins go bad at some point, and he didn't want to be bad. He'd seen what being bad was like with his cousin, so he made a choice. I want to do something different. I want to do something better for me, that's more effective for me. And it didn't matter that actually at that time he wasn't as gifted with other people because he's not had as much practice. It was about the choice that he made. So when we look at our beliefs and our perceptions, what choices are we making? What judgments are we making? Are they working for ourselves or working for other people? We have to then step back and analyse the situation. If Harry had gone straight in, which he quite often did, it led him into trouble. However, if Harry hadn't have rushed in when his godfather was in trouble, or what he believed, which was not true, when his godfather was in trouble, things in the story would have changed. He rushed in based on his beliefs without stepping back and going, actually, is this what it needs to be? Whereas other people were saying, are you sure that this is what's happening? But his emotion got caught up in that moment, and his emotional brain took over based on his beliefs, because he just found out that he's got somebody who he truly cares for, who loves him as much as he loves him. So he was, I've got to do this. But we've all got both a good and bad, or light and dark inside us. But it's what we choose on. That's who we really are. Inside we're just pure love. But it's choosing what we act and what we say and what we do to other people. No matter whether there's difficult times ahead. It's about bringing it back and going, okay. Sometimes we do all have to face the choice between what is right and what is easy. Because sometimes it's easier just to push it away. Sometimes it's easier not to accept what other people are saying. Sometimes it's easier to guilt trip because you believe that you are right and they're wrong. Because if something's right, something else has to be wrong. So sometimes it is that simple, that we just have to do what's easy, but it's not true, because that's based on belief. We have to do what is effective. What is effective? What is right? And that was said to him in the Goblet of Fire. We have to look at our beliefs. We have to challenge those beliefs that aren't effective. We've got to start treating people with humanity and love and compassion, rather than out of hatred and power. Like Voldemort, all Voldemort wanted was power and never-ending death. And he hurt so many people on the way because his way was the only way. Now, if he'd have taken a step back, he could have realised that the Deathly Hallows would have actually been a better way. But he didn't put any credence into that, because in his mind, his belief and the way he was raised, power was the key. So what beliefs do you hold? What beliefs do you know that are true? And what beliefs do you know that aren't true, because it's in our perceptions. And that bases our perceptions and our values and our beliefs, they're all linked. But not everything that we believe and perceive is actually accurate. For example, Harry used the cloak of invisibility and saw himself in the mirror with his mum and dad, who were no longer here. They were there in his heart, but no longer here. Dumbledore, on the other hand, didn't need a cloak to make himself invisible. He could just do it just like that. And then people couldn't see him. Because their belief is you can't be invisible. Well, you can with magic. And some people may believe that they do feel invisible because friends and family don't want to talk to them. But it's not necessarily true. We do not know what's happening on the other side. We don't know the facts. You might not have got a phone call, but then the person that you were expecting a phone call from isn't very well, or is asleep. And some people, we live in an instant gratification universe where everything's in the here and now, bang, 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 bang. So people find it hard to have patience because they believe, well, they've not contacted me, so they don't like me. But that's not necessarily true. We have to start looking at the facts. We have to start looking at our emotions and our perceptions. What is the perception of the things that are being said to us? How are we taking that? Are we taking that personally? Or are we looking at analytically going, actually, you've got a point there? Or are we just going, no, and then taking all the blame and guilt? Rather than going, actually, let's look at the facts. Look at the situation, each emotion, and break it down. Well, Harry couldn't have accomplished what he accomplished without the support of his friends, without the support of Dumbledore. And all of them used things to break it down. So he could take it step by step, rather than rushing in and making it dangerous for everybody. So take a step back. Look at your beliefs. Look at what's going on. So you've got Harry, Ron and Hermione. They all work differently. But as a team, they work quite well. One would, I'd want to rush in, but the other one saying, just hang on a minute. Another one would say, yeah, that's a really good idea. And offer some support. And together they made a good combination. But if they did it on their own, then it's likely to have consequences, and our beliefs and our perceptions are likely to be altered by what we see. When we understand the facts, and when we understand our beliefs and our values and our perceptions, we can then understand that somebody else's beliefs and perceptions and values are going to be different to ours. So Hermione says, when she went into what we call catastrophic thinking, and her belief was, well, it could have been worse. We could have been killed, or worse, expelled. So she went into the worst case scenario, and her belief system was basically saying, actually, it didn't matter about dying so much, but being expelled, was for her was far worse. Whereas Harry was like, well, surely being killed would have been worse. We got to look at our perceptions and our abilities, and then we've got to look at the perceptions of other people, because when they're talking to us, they're different people. And when we have different people who work from different areas, so it's what we call different models of the world, so their way of thinking is not my way of thinking, then there's conflict. Harry and Draco didn't get on. They didn't like each other because one was in Slytherin and one was in Gryffindor. And as a society, those two groups were basically programmed to be in conflict with each other. But when the big final battle happened, a lot of them all turned different sides, so they became allies and friends. Some didn't, because some will still have those limiting beliefs and go, They can't see the wood for the trees. So in other words, they're getting hit by the Whomping Willow. But some will go, actually, you have a point. And Harry and Draco, although they were never actually close friends, near the end did accept each other. They still had rivalry, but they weren't bitter to each other, because their beliefs had been changed. Their beliefs had grown and evolved, because they worked on themselves and they were accepting of others. Now Voldemort's belief was his downfall, because it was so limiting, he had to do it this way. And he couldn't see other points of view. So let's look at your points of view and other people's points of view, and when you can work a compromise and you can see it from another person's point of view. So for example, Harry can see it from Hermione's point of view, or Harry can see it from Ron's point of view, or Harry can see it from Dumbledore's point of view, or Sirius's or Hagrid's, then communication is better. So the classic example of that one is Harry thought Snape was a bad person. When Harry found out that Snape was trying to kill him, he still didn't like him, but Snape wasn't trying to kill him. That's what he believed. Harry found out he was trying to be saved. And then when he found out later on that Snape loved his mum, and that he would have done anything for his mum, this is how beliefs can be changed. Snape's belief was completely and utterly changed. He was a bad guy, and then he fell in love, and then he had a different point of view, a different perspective, because he looked at things in a different way. And that's all we have to start doing, guys. Start looking at things in a different way, and things will start changing. And sometimes change isn't easy. Sometimes change is difficult. But when we can become self-aware and we're on this journey, just as Harry Potter was at the King's Cross station, we're all on this journey. So enjoy the journey and learn to be acceptant of others, and become self-aware as to what your own beliefs, and then you'll have a different result. So if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get the same result. AKA Voldemort didn't end very well. Harry, on the other hand, he changed what he was doing. He had to adapt, and he did that numerous times, and he got a different result. Sometimes they were not very nice results. Sometimes they worked in his favour. Sometimes the results were complicated and difficult, and sometimes they were not. So that's what you guys need to do. Start reflecting back and look at the other things, so that you can have a look at your beliefs. What beliefs do you hold dear? What beliefs are true? What beliefs are not? Because when you start looking at different beliefs, and you look at different beliefs of other people, we change our perspective. We can change our values. A lot of values will still be the same, but if we have a different point of view, we can see it from other people's perspective without changing our core values. They just become more effective. So thank you very much, guys. This was a quick little talk on perceptions and beliefs with Harry Potter. If you want me to do any more of these sort of videos, drop me a link, drop me a comment on my Twitter feed, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, and I'm even on Instagram now. So I'm spreading lots of information out there. Let's get more information out there so that we can help as many people as possible. Thank you very much, guys. Do take care. Goodbye.